Potter is the master of rhythm and phrasing, and this is a Chris Potter exercise training groupings of 3. Chris Potter actually made this exercise in an online course I once followed. We'll check this out later in the video. When I listen to Chris Potter's music, one question pops up into my head.
And I am hearing the notes, you know, and I'm thinking maybe
So one of my questions to Chris Potter is, how do you actually get this far that you're hearing all these rhythms in your head? So one thing is obvious. I know for a fact that Chris Potter listened to all the music he could get his hands on. And it's very clear when you listen to Chris Potter's album Gratitude, he got so much inspired by all these great artists like Coltrane, like Joe Henderson and Sonny Rollins. But how do you get all these rhythms into your playing and deep learn them that they're sticking in your playing? It really starts with getting rhythmic flexibility. Since Chris Potter is greatly inspired by Sonny Rollins' rhythm, let's start here. Let's break it down and take the first couple of bars of Sonny Rollins' solo on St. Thomas. What to learn from Sonny Rollins in these bars are of course his phrasing, his articulation, but there's one more thing: start simple. So starting simple is also doing this. I'm moving everything into a blues in C. Just pick one chord note and make a simple rhythm in each bar of the blues. And when you're working with rhythm, learn to hear the 4/4 bar. And what you can really learn from Chris Potter is,
and just sing the ideas, you know.
Learn to sing it. He does this all the time. Because if you can sing it, you can hear it. So pushing the buttons on the saxophone is easy. Really hearing the phrasing by singing it, that's the tough part. Ba ba di do da. Ba. When you start singing these phrases, you'll discover that the clarity of the lines becomes so much more easy to overview. Why would I sing the phrases? Because singing the phrases makes me focus on only the rhythm. And I try hard not to sing the melody line. Singing into the chords and singing the melody often disturbs me when I have to focus on the rhythm. So when you are singing these rhythms, you can support the timing in different ways. Use the metronome, try snapping your fingers, and use a backing track. The difficult aspect of the backing track is when I hear the chords in the backing track, I start singing the melody too. Ba ba di do da. Ba 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 da. So if you think it's difficult to sing long phrases yet, take it down a notch. Da 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 di da. Sing only one bar at a time, so please do not make it overly difficult for yourselves. No need to. So since we're working on listening and hearing these phrases and start singing them, we need to listen to a lot of music with great phrasing and great timing and great rhythm. But when you listen, start listening with a rhythmic ear. When I want to get these rhythmic 8-note lines into my playing, I really need to be able to hear them first. Inspired by this Sonny Rollins line, I suddenly hear a lot of 8 notes getting into my playing, so this line came out. And when you want to take it slower, remove some of the 8 notes. Play and sing less notes. Use pause when making the lines. I want to give you one tip. You do not have to start this all by yourself. I've added all the exercise, hearing and playing from simple to advanced in the lesson manual on Patreon. Start there if you really want your playing to grow. The download link is in the description. So one of the many things Chris Potter can teach us is playing rhythmic groupings. So earlier I was talking about a little course I joined, this artist share thing. And this exercise was one of the things he put in there. The groupings are really difficult enough, so putting them over giant steps, that's just too much. Let's take it down to this blues. Let's just take a little look at it. In the 4th bar, we land on the 1. So then the circle of groupings of 3 are round and we can start over again. Because after 3 bars, the groupings of 3 repeat. Most of us, or at least I know me, are not used to playing groupings of 3 like this. And this is why I'm accenting the chord chains in every bar. Day, 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 da. So making it clear to my head, my rhythmic feeling that I'm changing the chord. Still not singing the chord tones, but just accenting the rhythm makes me aware of the chord change. So sing the groupings many times to get used to this new structure. And be very aware of the 4/4 timing when you're crossing the bar lines. This is the difficult part. So now start playing the groupings and listen to the sound. Is it the same as when you sang it? What you're seeing here in the Chris Potter exercise is the next step. He's splitting up the dotted quarter note, now playing a quarter note and an eighth note. So when we're adding more notes, we also need to keep our focus clear, focus on the rhythm. In this exercise, I've now written down the notes as a quarter note and an eighth note. And this actually means you get twice as many notes to keep your mind on. So again, start singing the notes. When I sing the notes, I still emphasize the 1 in the grouping. When I emphasize the 1, I get a much stronger feeling of the 3 groupings in the phrasing. Train the timing by changing the reference to the time. Try singing this exercise with count on all 4 beats. When you're counting on all 4 beats, all the beats are the same, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and you don't really know where you are. At least I have that. And I think it's somewhat easier to count on 1 and 3. The downbeat of each bar, the 1, is very clear. Now try singing and put the beat on 2 and 4. And remember to all the time emphasize the first note of the groupings. When you have the rhythmic freedom, start adding more notes into the mix. I'm staying with only playing diatonic notes, not to confuse myself with all the tones, but focusing on the rhythm. Keep developing and keep adding more notes. And slowly you will realize when adding more notes, your focus goes towards the notes. This is what we're used to, but you have to strain yourself and keep focusing on the rhythm. If you notice that you're focusing more on the notes than on the rhythm, instead of playing the lines, start singing the lines more. This clears your head, only focusing on the rhythm. I love how our brain works.
Brilliant strategies!
In the lesson manual on Patreon, I have added lots and lots of blues etudes, adding these groupings into the mix. And believe me, it's much easier to start playing these rhythmic groupings when you have a great guideline. The PDF download link is in the description. Chris Potter is of course the master in playing rhythmic groupings, and he's moving rather fast through this manual he made. Because of the speed in which Chris Potter is moving, I want to take just a step in between. When grouping the line like this, you get a really nice feel, and it gets much easier to play these groupings. When you're accenting the second group of 3, but you also get a grouping of 6, which is much easier to overview because you have a longer flow in the line. And the switch in the line comes less often. I've split up the second dotted quarter note grouping and added an eighth note to it. You see, we are almost there, full on 8 notes. And you really need to go for it until the rhythm becomes as natural as just playing 8 notes. And eventually ending up with lines like this, only playing 8 notes but still keeping the groupings of 3. Think about being able to do this in any tune. I can only advise anyone to start this rhythmic process because your timing gets so much better and you get so much stronger when playing. And there are tons of full form blues etudes from easy to advanced using the rhythmic groupings in 3. Get the PDF on Patreon, the download link is in the description. I'm always totally in awe when listening to Chris Potter. His phrasing and his rhythm is amazing. So I really advise you to check out this video with Chris Potter's amazing epic rhythm. Play music, have fun.